In the middle
That didn't
part.
seem that long. Are we really far?
We're really over time.
Well, it's because
What
we
is
talked about.
wrong with us?
Well, it's
didn't
because we
feel
talked
that way.
about other games whenever we were doing the thing, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Who's it? It's me, right? I'm editing this.
Yeah, Dan just edited hard. I
I'll
believe
just.
in you.
Oh, I don't know any other way to edit it.
I would expect
edited
no
hard.
less, Dan.
Strap in. Hello
Recording.
and welcome to episode 93 of the GameBOO podcast, the bi-weekly video game podcast where we sip delicious beers, discuss video games, and there's a ghost behind you.
Ah!
Just kidding.
I didn't see it. I missed it.
I am your host, Ian Chucky Richard, and I'm joined by Chris It Writes,
I'm a bad person and haven't seen this yet.
Oh.
Dan Hannibal Rots,
I ate his liver with a nice over fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Alex Freddy Writer,
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
oh my god, and Allison Pinhead Van Dievender.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Nice. Today, on the first half of the show, we'll be talking about some spooky games. And in the second half, we'll be discussing the scary accusations and realities swirling around Tencent Corporation's gaming investments. But first, it's time for a beer. Chris, what are we drinking this week?
We're drinking pumpkin beers. Yay.
Pumpkin
Yay.
Halloween.
And as we all
beers.
know, pumpkin beers are Chris's favorite holiday festive beer.
Yep. It's, if there's a beer that I want in September, it's definitely pumpkin beers and nothing else that we've had recently.
I want everyone to thank Allison for forcing the guys to drink pumpkin beers because they really tried not to.
Yeah, the conversation was basically like, should we do pumpkin beers? And Dan, I think, was like, we don't have to
That
this
looks so
time.
pretty, Alex. And Allison was like, yes, you do. I like to watch you suffer. And here we
Oh
are.
boy.
So in the spirit of suffering, I picked the weirdest pumpkin beer I could find.
Okay.
It's the Voodoo Ranger Spicy Release Atomic Pumpkin.
Alex's face. I think his was poisoned. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I can't right now with that.
Oh, call the emergency number.
Sorry, continue, Chris.
Yes, Chris, what are you drinking in terms of weirdness?
The Voodoo Ranger Spicy Release Atomic Pumpkin. It's got
Spicy.
cinnamon, pumpkin, and jalapenos.
Okay.
Jalapenos.
If there's something I love in beers, it's when they're actually legitimately spicy.
It's the weirdest one I could find.
Have you tasted
Nice.
it yet? Has it
I'm about
passed
to.
thy lips? Oof, oof. Oh, there it goes. Wow.
That's a hefty sip.
Oh no.
Can you taste the
Oh,
jalapeno?
is it like, is it there on your palate punching you?
Yeah.
That was punching noises.
Thank you.
That, not bad.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's got a nice little spiciness to it. It's not too pumpkin-y. It's not, like, super sweet, which is, like, the thing I hate most about pumpkin beers.
About Gumpkin Piers?
Gumpkin beers, yeah.
Gumpkin pears.
But it's not terrible. Yeah, I do like a spicy beer every now and then. So I'll give that 4.5 spicy pumpkins.
Oh.
4.5
Ooh.
spicy pumpkins. Alex, it seems like we have a 5 spicy pumpkins going over there, and Alex.
Yeah, are you okay? Did you
Wait,
have a
Alex,
stroke?
I think I saw your can. I think we have the same thing.
Yeah, the pumpkin nitro. So this is Southern Tier Pumpkin Nitro Imperial Pumpkin Ale.
And is it bringing a tear to your eye?
It is pumpkin beer is not my thing. Pumpkin flavored anything except for pumpkin pie is not my thing.
Has it carved out a place in your heart?
Oh.
God.
Oh God.
So it's
Alex, I'm sorry. I just can't squash these puns.
Oh my God.
it has too much going on inside of it. There's pumpkin flavor. There's this is what's on their website. It's pumpkin, pie spices, buttery crust, vanilla, and roasted pecans. And it was also fermented with variety of malts, hops, and pumpkin and spices. There's just spices on spices on spices, and the first thing that hits your tongue is spices.
Yeah.
And then like you kind of get a little bit of beer flavor, and then it goes right back to the spices, and it's just like lingering, and it's not my thing.
It was so pretty when you poured it, though.
It was.
It was.
Because it's a nitro, and
Yeah,
so
it doesn't look
that's
so
kind of
cool.
that creaminess. But I give this half a pumpkin beer out of 5. Just not. It's
Wow.
not. And I'm sure there's people that would love this, but it's just not my thing.
Dan, do you agree with the assessment?
Okay. I mean, yeah. So like whenever I got the nitro version because I was like, maybe it won't be as like pumpkin pie-y as the regular pumpkin is, but nope. It's almost more. I mean, whenever you smell it, like as soon as you take a whiff of that beer, I'm like, this is a pumpkin pie. It smells like a pumpkin pie. By all intents and purposes, I should like the way it tastes. I do not. I don't want to drink pumpkins, apparently. I'll make pumpkin pies for days. But I'm gonna give this 2 out of 5 pumpkin pie whiffs. Like, you know, when you sniff at it.
And Allison, what is this beverage that I can see the cork top to? Is it a mystery beverage?
Oh, so I got Apothic Inferno because it said it was aged in whiskey barrels for 60 days, and it's bold, dark fruit, maple, and spice. So I was thinking it was very fall.
Oh.
It's the very spice.
And it is?
And it is. And actually,
And?
it's probably my new favorite wine? Question mark?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm really digging
Wow.
it. I
Nice.
like the spiciness that it's giving me. So yeah, this might be my new favorite red. I'm down. It's really good.
It's awesome.
Do you have a rating? I mean, so 5 out of 5 Allison
I think
wine
it's 5 out of
favorites.
5 pumpkins. I'm
Oh,
really
wow.
down.
Wow.
I'm digging it. I couldn't find anything pumpkin that I could drink with you guys. Sorry. I was going to do tea, but I did pumpkin tea last time. So I was like, I got nothing.
Well, so pumpkins
That was
are
so
like,
last year.
That's so
pumpkins
last year.
are they're close to the earth. They're a low vegetable. They're not fancy enough for wine. You know what I mean?
Or liquor. Like, you can't find liquor that has pumpkin in it.
Fairly positive I have seen pumpkin pie pinnacle.
Yeah, there's like a Burnett's or something that
There was
has-
allegedly a pumpkin pie Bailey's, but I couldn't find it, so I was just like, okay, we'll just get this.
Ooh, I would drink that for sure.
But would you drink it out of a shoe?
Stop! Oh my god! Oh, Greg is the worst.
And by the worst, you mean the best.
Speaking of the best, I am drinking Elysian's Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. I didn't read about anything on the website. Oh, but look at here. It says pumpkin ale brewed with pumpkin.
Oh, there you go.
Nice,
right.
good. That seems about right.
It's the criteria.
That seems accurate.
Roasted and raw pumpkin seeds and spice conditioning with nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, ginger, and allspice. And it's a little much, but it's not as overpowering as it sounds like that Nitro Brew is. Like, I'm enjoying it. It's definitely a dessert beer. It's definitely something that I would want to have with like ice cream, like vanilla ice cream in this beer would go great together. If you want to do a nice fall beer float, this is your beer right here. That would
do it.
money.
It also sounds like that has, like, the way that you describe the ingredients to it, like, it
Yeah.
sounds like a lot more, like, this just says spices. Like,
Yeah.
it's got spices. Yours is like, oh, these are the specific ones we used, also pumpkin seeds. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a little more actual pumpkin. Yes.
It's a pumpkin forward spice beer. I don't know. I like it. It's great.
Hey, listen, if you're not pumpkin forward, what are you doing?
What have we been playing this week? Aside from, so we're going to talk about scary games in a second, but we don't want to get that chilling sort of feeling going on yet. This is still the nice, warm, sort of homey game brew topics, things we've been playing other than scary things.
I picked up Regions of Ruin for my Switch.
Oh.
So I just got a puppy recently, so that's been taking up a lot of time. Lilo's the new puppy. She's a little pit.
So cute.
Pit mix. She's very cute. But she's a lot of work. So I haven't had a ton of time to game, but I've found that I've been gravitating more to the Switch recently because it's a lot easier to pick up and put down, and I can kind of keep an eye on her But
Give
anyway, so I picked
scratchies.
up Regions of Ruin, which is a side-scrolling 2D RPG that is pretty simple, but it does have like a good amount of like exploration and pretty simple combat and a little bit of village building. I played it a little bit on Steam, and it kind of didn't draw me there, but it's like a really good Switch game.
Nice.
The visual sort of looks like Sword and Sorcery, but it's very pixely, but in a good way.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of
Terraria.
Yeah.
The trees look like Terraria trees.
It's only single player.
Got it.
But I believe it was partially published by or assisted with by Humble.
Oh, that's cool.
is
Like
kinda
a
cool.
Humble partner game. That's fun. I like when they do that.
Yeah, me too.
So I've been playing Warzone. I mean, I haven't played.
You've been going hard.
I love playing Warzone. I usually play with my brothers and my brother-in-law's boss of his like the CEO of the company that he works for. We play Call of Duty with him every Thursday. Basically, they came out with a new season. There were a bunch of things. There's a couple like really ridiculous like hacks that kept happening that is really annoying. There's one that we were third place in a match and we just had to watch the second place team slowly die in the gas in Warzone because there's this glitch where you can unlimited like give yourself the stims which refill your health. So people will like sit in just a corner of the map and just keep refilling their health as the like gas is killing them. So they don't even like win for real. They just like chill out somewhere.
That's lame.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
That's unfortunate. But you feel like Warzone's still in good shape. You don't feel like it's losing steam.
I mean, yeah, no, it's pretty on par. Like they keep changing things. There's a lot of streamers that are playing it, and I think it's still fun. Like if you can go in with your buddies and have a good time. I know the fellas gaming, who's our friends Bob and Bizarro Ian and Armand. There's a few other people involved that I can't recall off the top of my head, but they play that a lot. And it's just fun. It's fun to play with your buds, kind of strategize or just go ham and just, hot drops all day.
I'll have to check in on the fellas. That sounds like fun. Righteous, what about you?
So it's not really a game, but I got a new MIDI keyboard for my recording setup, and with it came a free like trial subscription to this program called Melodics.
Okay.
And it's a way to learn piano. And
cool.
they like you can do drum machines and MIDI programmer, any MIDI instrument you can like learn how to play it in this program. And so for me it's keyboard and piano, but it's very much like top down scroller with dots and it's kind of like Guitar Hero but on the piano. And so it's been a fun way to kind of teach myself piano again since I didn't pay attention in college. And it's cool. They're 5-minute lessons every single day. And so I've been trying to stay on top of that for the past 2 weeks now. And it's fun.
Nice.
It's been going well. So
Nice.
yeah,
Could be a virtuoso
I'm
in
going
no
to try
time.
to stick with it.
I believe in you.
Allison, what have you been up to aside from spoopy games or just spoopy games?
Really just spoopy games. I've been playing Phasmophobia, which wasn't like my spooky game I necessarily was trying to play, but it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Should I talk about that or should I save it?
Talk about
Go
it because
for
I
it.
think spoopy
'Cause we
games
both
is going to
played
be
it.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah, so Phasmophobia just got really hot all of a sudden. Like everybody's playing it. It's kind of crazy. But I got it because Carrie suggested it to me for us to play. And then I was like, spoopy games, and I was going to stream it because I've been streaming lately. I'm actually really close to affiliate status, which is crazy to me.
Ooh, baby.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been streaming a lot lately to try to get there and see what happens. But anyway, the Phasmophobia is a lot of fun. So I asked Dan to play with us because it's like up to 4 players, and the more people you have, the easier the game is, and also just more fun, in my opinion, to have more
Also
people.
terrifying.
Also
terrifying.
Also, I killed Dan, but I didn't mean to.
Twice I died.
Oh,
He
but
probably asked for it.
I killed you
basically.
once. I will admit to killing you
I think I
once.
killed myself the second time. There's
Yeah.
a video in the Discord of my we gotta go. Like whenever I get really scared, I'm like, I'm out. We're leaving.
I'm pretty sure like this game has taught me I'm a sociopath because I'm not afraid of the ghosts coming out, and I'm just like, no, we need to do the task. Let me go in and like try to egg it on and get these things done. But like anytime anyone else screams, I like lose my mind for a second.
Okay.
But no,
All right,
it's
so-
really fun. So it's like you're playing through an episode of Supernatural.
Slash Ghost
Okay.
Hunters.
Slash Ghost Hunters. Yes, exactly how it
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
So if those two shows like met together, you've got kind of like lore, and you have to guess which ghost you're hunting by using certain objects to determine the clues that you plug in to tell you what ghost you're dealing with. And the goal is to survive, because if you don't survive, you don't get as much money and things like that, and you lose all the items that you bought to come into the game with. So your goal is to survive and to figure out what the ghost is and leave before everyone starts dying, because like the longer you take, the more the ghost gets erratic and starts killing, or if your insanity level gets too low, you have a higher chance to die. So there's just a lot of factors. The more I'm learning about this game and the more I'm playing, the more I'm realizing it's a lot deeper than I thought it was, because you come into it thinking, okay, I'm just going to go in here and figure out what the ghost is, and I can play around and mess in the house. And like I was throwing stuffed animals around, and it's not that at all. Like it's very, you're supposed to go in, do your job, get out, which I didn't realize was really my main goal. It's a lot of fun. I suggest everybody gets it and plays it. Yeah, it's really fun. Nobody's playing the ghost.
That's awesome.
You're all working together to find out what the ghost is.
Or to murder
Yeah,
your friends in this spooky house accidentally.
Wait, you?
Right.
Oh, accidentally.
Right.
Okay.
Allison, for the record, Allison never asked Dan to stay. Dan just stayed because Allison was staying. So Dan killed
It's
himself,
true.
in my opinion.
I was a
but it's fine.
teammate. And then whenever I said, we got to leave, she was like, no, I want to see this. And I was like, oh, okay.
I was like,
okay,
I'm going
fine.
to do this. And he's like, I'll hold your hand. I didn't need my hand held. You were.
That's true. No, I needed my hand held.
What he's saying was, please hold my hand. I've been playing two things on regular rotation right now. Star Wars Squadrons, which is the new Star Wars cockpit dogfighting game, which I really love and which is incredible with the joystick. I just think the sound design for that game and the control design is really spot on, and like the way they did the cockpits really is incredibly immersive, and I'm loving that. But the other thing I've been playing a ton of is this game called Genshin Impact.
Oh, it's
Have you
so
guys heard of
popular
this?
right now. Yes.
I played it at PAX.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's got like a Breath of the Wild aesthetic sort of smashed together with a gacha type game where you have to like sort of roll for characters and gear and things like that. But it's also got a really interesting progression series. So there's like a world progression called Adventure Rank that you can do. There's main stories, there's dungeons, there's exploration. It's got like so much in it. It's basically, to me, it feels a lot like an MMO, if an MMO were more like single players or like small
okay.
party oriented.
Yeah.
But that kind of world and that kind of like just go do stuff and have fun kind of quest structure. It's really fun, but people are freaking out about it and it's super popular.
Yeah.
And I got some god rolls with this game, just like super luckily.
I'm
I
never
have
lucky in gacha
3
games.
So you're OP? You're
I'm-
OP?
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I think you're doing the deck building thing, and you bought like hundreds of dollars of stuff already.
I've not spent any money on this game. I've played maybe, I don't know, 10 hours of it, and I have 3 5-star characters after like 4 or 5 rolls. That's crazy. I think the roll percent for a 5-star character is 0.5%.
What is this on, and is it money or is it like a free to play thing?
It's free to play, but like any gacha game, you know, there are places for microtransactions. It doesn't feel like I don't think you ever need them. Like I'm having fun running around doing all the things without worrying about it. So I hope that's the case for everyone. What was your question, Dan? It's free.
What's-
And platforms. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can get it on PC, Android, iOS, and you can link accounts. So like I'll play on
And
my
PS4.
PC some and PS4. I'll play on my PC some, and then I'll go like pull it up on my phone. And the phone to PC, I can't believe how well it translates from phone to PC.
Wow. That's cool.
It feels like it almost feels like a PC game on PC, and it almost feels like a completely mobile game on mobile, and it's all buttery smooth and good. It's
That's
really
impressive.
I just Googling the game, I stumbled upon the story that this game recouped its development cost in 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It got made over $100 million.
Wow.
Whoa.
It does have a very anime aesthetic.
It is
That appeals to
very
a lot
anime.
of the world.
But yeah, really fun, having a great time with it, and hoping that it doesn't cause me to spend any money on it anytime soon.
Don't do it.
But it is Halloween, or will be close to Halloween when this episode releases, and so this is our annual Spoopy Game episode. Alex is doing scary fingers. What?
This is an audio format, Alex.
That's right.
The pumpkin paint can was going straight at your face.
Aggressive pumpkin.
And so we are playing a bunch of spooky games. Alex, Dan, and Allison have been hosting these spooky games for us, so they sort of assigned us spooky games to play. So I want to know, well, first, I want to know, Dan, what you've been playing, and then I want to know why you assigned me to play Amnesia Dark Descent, because I think I know why, but I want to know why you think.
Well, so I'm going to start with what I've been playing, because
Yes.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on me, because everybody knows me. I love scary
But
things.
Dan, you're so popular.
I love
Everybody
games
loves
that make me go, ugh. And so I played one that was a little bit less hoo-y called Dark, D-A-R-Q. Basically, it's a puzzle game where you play this kid Lloyd. You go to sleep, and then you have these kind of dreamscapes that you have to puzzle your way through. It's based around lucid dreaming. Like the whole point, like the whole theory of the game is that you understand that it's a dream, so you can kind of manipulate things. The first thing that happened was it doesn't give you any instruction whenever you start playing it. You just kind of start playing it. You're like in this little room. You're like, oh, what do I do? And then I looked at the controls. It says, oh, this one button says wall walk. So you go up to a wall, like the whole room rotates and you can walk on walls. There's a whole bunch of different levels. Basically, you can manipulate the world, not your character. So sometimes you like walk on walls and activate buttons. Sometimes you like pull a switch and it rotates the whole world around you, because it's just a left-right side scroller. And then sometimes you like pull a lever and then it makes you go like a 3D world, like towards you or away from you. So it's very cool. It was really fun. I finished it. Took me maybe 4 hours, something like that. But it was really creative and really well done. It wasn't the most creepy game, so out of spookiness, I'll give it like 3 spooky pumpkins. But like as game pumpkins, like video game pumpkins, I'll give it like a 4.5 out of 5.
I'm watching some video of it, and I'm seeing that the color palette is really muted and really
Yes.
almost limited to black and white. How did you feel about that choice?
It kind of made you very unsettled. I thought it was good because it fit the idea of the game. There is a DLC that you can do. It's called The Tower, where you press a button and it like changes the world into this weird, gross, meaty, like red color, and it makes you. But like mainly the whole thing is to make you feel uncomfortable. And there's like some really like weird looking enemies. There's one particular enemy that's like naked bodies with lampshades and pistols. They have lampshade heads that like turn on and off, and they have pistols. So it's pretty neat. I recommend it. Definitely a Dan recommends. And
Okay.
I picked Amnesia: The Dark Descent for Ian
Yes, tell me.
because much like Satan, I wanted to pick a thing that like spoke to your fears the best. And for you, I was like, well, what does Ian hate? Ian hates being scared and being followed by things.
Yep.
And like
And that's
the
basically
dark.
the whole
And that's
game.
basically the whole game. But it does have a really rich story too. So I hope that you were able to kind of pick up some of that stuff as well.
So I played maybe like an hour and a half of this game, and not a lot, admittedly. So take this all with a grain of salt. But I was very afraid, and and what I loved about it, and actually the reason you picked it for me was not what I thought. The reason I thought is that like I loved that it was kind of a puzzle game, which I like. Obviously, it was almost a little bit of a walking simulator. Like it really is just about exploring this spooky castle. When you break it all down, it's
true.
No, but it really is just wandering around this old castle. But it's like it's got a very scary. Like the soundtrack definitely does a lot of the heavy lifting, and they use this sort of like screen. Like it looks like you're hammered the whole time you're playing this. If you're in the dark at all, where the screen is just like watery and like getting squished and pulled apart and manipulated the whole time, and it drove me crazy. I wish they would have found a different way to make me feel like I was going crazy aside from doing that with the screen, because it kind of made my stomach turn, which, okay, maybe that's the point. Marianne, who was there as my second, got up and left because I can't take this
like,
anymore.
I can't do this. I can't do this.
She literally was like, my stomach is killing me. I can't do this anymore.
Oh boy.
But I did like the physical puzzle solving aspect of it, and I thought they did a really good job with the sound design, especially for that game came out in like 2008 or something, so it's not a new game at all.
That's an old game, but it's also one of the first ones that did like the sanity kind of stuff,
right?
Where that's like as you're in the dark longer, you kind of lose it a little bit more because it's very scary. And you're right, that's why they made it unsettling. So it's like you start to like see things out of the corner of your eye almost,
right?
Because you're a little bit more crazy.
Yeah. And that was cool. I don't know. Maybe spooky games aren't just for me, but I was too scared of it. And so I switched to this other game, which is called Server is Down. So Server is Down is like a text-based, like sort of DOS. It's like Hacknet, but spooky instead of just hacking, right? And so your job is to like basically do server maintenance, and you're in there like figuring out the puzzles and doing server maintenance. And at the same time, you're getting text chats from someone who is like maybe dead and maybe trying to get you to murder someone, and text chats from the person who maybe murdered them, and like maybe it's the job, man. And so it's got like a little bit of spookiness to it. It's really good.
All right, so spooky pumpkins. What's the delineation here?
For Amnesia, I would give it 2.5, but I don't like spooky games, so take that with a grain of pumpkin salt. Server is Down, I would give right now 4, because I'm really enjoying it and looking forward to jumping back in. Chris, what do you went up to, and are you scared? Are your pants are they your brown pants?
No. So I had Stories Untold. This was given to me by Dan. Dan, why did you give me this game?
Because I know that you like things that are a little bit weirder, or like whenever it's like something that is a little, because they're all instanced little stories. So, and I know since you also don't have a lot of time to do stuff, I was like, you could sit there and like do one of the little stories and like knock that out in like an hour and a half. But also they're like unsettling, but also kind of The Room-esque, because I know you like the Room games.
I do. Actually, I was looking for, after I finished this, I was looking for more Room-esque games on Switch. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. It was it's a game called Stories Untold. As Dan said, it's kind of in 4 parts. It's a pretty short game. Basically, though, like each part has a slightly different setup, but you have basically like a computer in front of you that you can do different commands in. The first one is a pretty basic like text-based adventure type thing. Eventually, you realize that all 4 stories are telling an overarching story. It's a very impactful story because it kind of leads you to somewhere that you didn't expect. I wouldn't call it. It wasn't like scary. It was a little unsettling. It's kind of like horror versus scary, if that makes sense. So more like Frankenstein, less Freddy Krueger, if that makes sense.
Right, and that's
like
what I was
Frankenstein
going
the book.
For. Yeah,
but yeah, it was a cool game. I wish it was a little longer, but like it was good for the time for sure. As a horror game, I would give it 4 out of 5 spicy pumpkins. As a game overall, I would give it 3.5 spicy pumpkins. You
weren't scared by the first episode of it?
The first episode I had one jump at the beginning, but like overall, it wasn't There was a lot of unsettling moments. One part with the drill was unsettling.
Yeah, that was unsettling.
And like there were parts that were like you kind of basically had to do things to yourself that like weren't to yourself, but they were kind of to yourself.
Yeah,
Weird.
it makes you uncomfortable. That's what I like about that game. It really is skirted the line between like being something that was scary, but mostly it just like made you uncomfortable to do the thing. Yeah. But you had to do it. It's kind of like
to progress the game.
Yeah, it's kind of like Saw, where it's not necessarily scary, but it's like oh, I gotta cut through my own leg, you know?
Yeah.
Alex, you sort of picked up an old favorite, yeah?
Yeah. So
Allison
this was given to me by Allison.
I did that.
So she gifted me Limbo. So it's been a long time since I played this game.
No, not
That's not the right one. No.
Oh, sorry.
Imagine a lot more death and creepy spiders crawling around that are like
they are creepy
20
spiders.
times the size of you. So the last time I played Limbo was probably over 3.5 years ago before I joined the army when I was playing on Chris's Steam account. And I didn't play that much of the game. And so when Allison signed me this game, I was super excited. It's a really, really incredible game. I love it. The puzzle, the solving of puzzles is incredible. The way that death is incorporated into the game is really interesting because it's you're expected to die, kind of, in the game. Yeah. And because there's no way that you can just like straight go through the game without solving these puzzles and scenarios. And so it's interesting how when you die, you start so close to win when you die. Like, I think the thing that irritates me in games like in some other games is when you die and you have to go all the way back to the beginning of a level or all the way back.
Reset,
right.
yeah.
But this really like puts you back at that moment and it's like, all right, try again. All right, try again. On the 30th time. Okay, try again. What have you not looked at? It's like, oh, you know that box you passed 30 minutes ago. You should go back and grab that box. Oh, that's all I had to do. The minimalism in this game is really beautiful. It does have the creepy spookiness to it with the spider and with the random clan of people that are trying to kill you. All of that being said, it still is like this weird, creepy, adorable game. It's almost relaxing playing it.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's really weird. It's like I should be super stressed that I haven't gotten through this part, but I'm not. And I don't know if it's the music or the sound design.
There is something about the design of the main character in that game that, like, for no particular reason, like, it's just a bunch of like slightly grayer black than the rest of the gray black. Mm-hmm. But the way that it moves, and honestly the way that it's killed, you're just like, I need you to succeed, little man.
Yep.
I need you to get through this, and we're going to get through it. I just remember having a really strong sense of connection with that character because of the way that it's animated.
Yep.
And you just want that little guy to make it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why it's funny the way Alex is describing and how he liked playing it, because that's the whole reason I assigned this game to him. So I didn't know he had ever touched it before.
Right.
I thought this was going to be a totally new game for him because he's like, I don't play anything spooky. Like, and I looked in his Steam library and I didn't see this one. When I gave it to him, he's like, oh, I haven't played this in so long. And I was kind of upset. I'm like, oh no, he's played this. This might not go as well as I thought. But all the reasons he's described as why I did it is the subtlety of that game. I was hoping he would like, and being a sound engineer, the ambiance and calm and the sounds you get from it, and you know, just the little things in that game are what make it amazing. So I'm glad to hear that he is loving it exactly the reasons I hoped he would. So
and I started a new game from scratch. I didn't pick up in my old game, so
good,
was it's great. I want to jump back into it and keep playing it. And it's interesting because it's not like listening to it from a super critical standpoint. It's not the most advanced sound design, and it's not the most like high-end implementation of sounds. going between ambiences, like it's very clearly like, oh, it's a new ambience. Like there isn't that smooth transition. All of the sounds work just perfectly in that game. So I would give it, I think I would give it 5 out of 5. Like I really enjoy Limbo.
Oh, perfect.
I think it's
pumpkin
great.
Score.
Yay!
Yeah. And
It's
spooky,
one
like,
great pumpkin.
I think that from the spooky standpoint, those spiders
The creaky,
Oh,
like
God.
the creaky sound that happens when they're walking through is the most terrifying thing.
Yes. It's not the spookiest of games, but those spiders are
Yeah, it's
Pretty
more creepy
creepy.
than spooky, but
Yeah, fuck them spiders.
yeah.
And we saved the Allison, the Queen of Darkness herself, for the end.
ooh, I
Best-
love that.
best-
That's my favorite title I've ever received.
Oh my
If
god!
Allison is the Queen of Darkness, can I be like the Duke of Shadows or something like that?
you're more like the Joker of like midday.
Oh.
Yeah, all right. I'll take it.
So
Can I be the Marquis of Sunshine?
I won't spend a lot of time on mine because honestly, we're really out of time. But also, everybody knows I love spooky games. I played Layers of Fear, the first one, and I
One of my favorite
really,
That's a Dan favorite.
yeah, I really loved it at first. But I'm sorry, Dan.
Ooh.
I don't think I'm liking it as much anymore, and I need to play more.
Why?
So at first I was like, this is a really, good story. This is a well implemented environment. Like the house is always changing. It kind of gave me anxiety because I was like, did I miss things all the time? Because I was like, I had to choose what room I was going into if there were like 2 that were open. And then I was like, oh, did I miss things in the drawer that could have been in that room? Because now I can't go back because the room behind me has changed. There's just like a lot of anxieties and things that this game gives you that are unique. But it's really grounded in the scary factor in jump scares, which is fine. Those are the scares that usually get me the most, to be honest. Because like normal like scary games like Silent Hills and stuff, where it's like the plot's going and something is going to happen. It's not really a shock to you, I guess.
Yeah.
Where in this game, it's like I walked up to the clips in the Discord. I walked up to like a painting and the floor dropped beneath me, and I screamed because it got me. Like I was like, "Good job, game!" Or that gives me an anxiety during a game that does scare me. So it was a win there, but I lost that anxiety as I continued playing, and everything kind of felt a little expected, I guess, at a certain point. And I don't know if that's just because of where I'm at in the game. The story is kind of in a lull for me. It didn't give me enough information. Like I like that I was kind of like dropped in this and I didn't really know my backstory being there. But then that started kind of annoying me where I'm at. I don't know. And again, I need to keep playing. I know I need to keep playing. I know.
I know what you're saying, and I'm
Yeah.
like, as you're saying it, I'm like, oh, you just have to keep
Right.
going.
So I might
Is
have an
it-
opinion as I get farther, but
Is it one of those games where like it's doing that on purpose to lull you?
maybe.
I mean, very much so. This is by a game by Bloober Team. Bloober Team also did Observer, which was fairly well received. Layers of Fear 2, obviously. And then Blair Witch, which I played last year for the Halloween episode. And they're coming out with a game called The Medium, which is a little bit more Silent Hilly, which you might like. That apparently that's coming out next. Supposed to come out this year. I don't know if it will. But yeah, it's a mix of jump scares and psychological horror, which is
and
kind
I
of the way
love
that
psychological
do that.
horror. And maybe that's the problem right now is I'm just not getting enough of that from where I'm at. So
You're getting there. You're getting there.
And I got really mad because I got stuck in an area, and it's apparently my fault now that I've looked into what was going on. So I need to go back in there. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at Bloober Team's like history of games that They were doing like a bunch of different things, and then after Layers of Fear, they've only done psychological horror.
Yeah.
Figured it out. They figured their thing out,
They're
man.
like, oh, this is what we should do.
I'm currently
This is our thing.
at 3 spooky pumpkins out of 5 because I really enjoyed it at the beginning. I was really liking the story, but everything got really sluggish. I'm not getting as many story points. It just feels like it's content for the sake of filler, and maybe that'll change. It's just this middle part maybe that I'm not feeling. I don't know.
All right, well, if we don't move on, someone's going to kill us.
Allison
We should
will,
probably wrap
actually.
up.
Allison, the Queen of
literally.
Darkness.
The Queen of Darkness will start laying some dark down.
That's right. So we're going to wrap up the first half. Stick with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tencent Gaming. Hello, and welcome back to the second half of the GameBOO podcast, episode 93. How's the beer? I know, Alex, you really love what you're drinking.
No, I don't.
He just had the most stoic face while he said that.
But I'm still drinking it
He's such a
For the
trooper.
podcast.
for the podcast.
For the podcast. Guys, I switched beers.
Did you?
I did
Wow.
to something. Well,
Way to-
it was
way
to
to
something
quit.
that. It was to something that like the guys at the, because I was telling the guys at the West Goshen Beverage here in Westchester about what we were talking about this week, and they were like, "Well, this isn't like a pumpkin beer, but it's got a lot of stuff in it, so it's kind of like, you know, it's a little scary." And it's called it's by Dogfish Head. It's called Costumes and Karaoke.
That's cute.
Oh.
It's a golden tea inspired oat cream ale.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of words.
Can you repeat that?
It's
Golden
a
tea.
golden
inspired.
tea inspired oat cream ale, but it's
Yeah.
8% ABV.
Does it taste like you're drinking dinner?
I mean, kind of, but it's really
how it
really
sounded.
good. Like it's a
looks
good
like it's
mix. It's brewed with oat cream base using a blend of spices from Burlap and Barrel in New York City. It's like vanilla beans, ginger, turmeric, star anise,
That's a lot.
cardamom,
Yeah.
and cinnamon.
Is it nutty?
It's
Nutty.
It's a bit nutty.
it's a bit nutty. Is it brown? It has notes that dwell on the senses. I love that movie so much. It's really sweet, but it's got like this kind of mid-range body, so it's not heavy.
That sounds like me. Really sweet, kind of mid-range body. That was basically my Bumble profile from, 2018
Pretty
to
sweet,
2020.
kind of mid-range body. Nice.
Oh God.
Did it taste the same coming out your nose there, Dan?
A little painful, but it's close.
So during the first half, I talked a little bit about Genshin Impact, which we all know is this huge gacha game that came out. But the thing that maybe I didn't say is that it is by a Chinese publisher, and it's could be the biggest Chinese developed published game that has gone worldwide. I mean, this thing is huge. And the company MiHoYo is, I think they did a great job with the game, but they're not nearly as big as another Chinese company that I want to talk about, and that's Tencent Gaming. They own Riot, which is the company that makes League of Legends and the associated properties, so Legends of Runeterra, if you're a CCG guy like me. They also have an 80% stake in Grinding Gear Games, which is Path of Exile, a 40% stake in Epic, so Fortnite, the Epic Store, all that jazz, and an 11.5% stake in Bluehole, makers of PUBG, and they have publishing deals with Activision Blizzard. So they're huge, and that's just what they have going in the gaming market in particular. They also own WeChat, which is a huge chatting platform, and a bunch of other tech stuff in China. And they're China's biggest tech conglomerate. These guys are massive. The thing is that there's more to them than just that. They also have large holdings in Reddit, in Snapchat, in Discord, and Nintendo partnered with them when the Switch launched in order to be able to sell it in the US. So this is a huge company. And in a gaming world where half of the PC gaming sales are Chinese PC gaming sales, half of sales in PC gaming are Chinese gaming sales, they're definitely something that we want to be looking at.
As of like March 2018, they were actually the official largest video game vendor company in the world.
Ding.
As far as like just most financially valuable companies, this year they are only beat by Facebook, Alibaba, Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft. So they are number 8.
They're in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
Wow.
they've floated this 2020 up and down from 7th and 8th position, but
Yeah, but still, that's still like of the Big Ten, like billion-dollar companies.
Billion for
Billion
sure.
dollar companies.
Yeah, so they're this huge company, and so kind of, we have a bunch of questions about this, and we want to talk about it. But one of the things I wanted to open with is our really big gaming conglomerates, like Activision, EA, Blizzard. Are those good for gaming, or are they bad for gaming?
It depends.
Boom. Next topic. Next topic.
Do you wish to elaborate, Mr. Sitting on the fence, sir?
Well, I mean, there's things that are advantageous and disadvantageous to it. Advantageous in that they can put more money into things and create a better product, but disadvantageous because they're more likely to, push a game out before it's ready just to satisfy shareholders. But it's kind of a balance. I mean, there's some, I think, larger video game companies like Sony Interactive. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. They're second under Tencent, at least in 2017. They make good quality games because that's their thing. They put out good quality games. Microsoft has a reputation of putting out good quality games. Activision Blizzard is losing their reputation because they're putting out games before they're ready or just not putting out their best products anymore.
yeah, it's like, so Tencent only has a 5% ownership of Activision Blizzard, so they don't really have much say in things. But from somebody who's played League of Legends as long as I have, playing it before Riot had control and now Tencent has 100% ownership of the company, the game now isn't fun. It really isn't. I don't know why I play it. I'm going to be honest.
Wow.
I'm in like an abusive relationship with this game that I can't get out of. Every time I play it, the champions that are releasing aren't balanced. They are intentionally overtuned. So you purchase them. If you don't have the money, purchase the skins, because like you have to have that champ to be competitive. So they leave them very unbalanced for a while and then kind of dial them.
They've done that forever, though.
Not in this way. It's been a thing.
It was less like years ago.
They're releasing.
Like, I remember when Jinx came out and she was super overpowered.
they're all like that at the beginning, and then they tone him back a little. But there are champs that they're releasing now that you can't fix unless you remove them from the game or completely change their play style. They just released a champ named Samira, and she has the best of so many other champions' abilities wrapped into one that, professional league players have come out and said, like, you guys are releasing too many champions too quickly. They're so back to back. It used to be that you get 3 a year max. So yes, they come out overtuned, but they'd be fixed in a patch or two. Now they're not fixed for quite a few patches. They're really just too imbalanced to correct. Zoe was one of them. Now she's useless because they had to tone her back so much that she doesn't make sense to play in the game. Like they're just not. They're not thinking through anything other than making money. And it's very clear to me. It's painful to watch a company that I loved so much and that had such an esports presence. Even the esports players are like, we can't play this game. I'm kind of done.
And that's interesting because since they do own 100% of it, that's like the way that these companies similar to Tencent, like a corporate structure, work. They're companies that buy other companies to make money, because since they own 100% of it, their whole goal is to make money off of this product. So because with League of Legends, there's already a huge community behind it, they could just kind of do this stuff and people are just kind of like, okay, because they've been doing it for
Right.
so long. The only thing that's happening is that they're getting money for things because they're saying, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to put out this many things. You need to make this much money by this quarter. And you need to figure out a way to do that. So now Riot Games is trying to keep up with that by doing these things, and they can't do all the fixes they have because they're trying to keep up with this never-ending money machine, which is which is what they need to do for their parent company to be saying, yes, it's like, okay, great, we're going to stay off your back if you keep doing this thing. Otherwise, no more money train.
Is there any possibility that these changes, and Allison, maybe you can speak to this timeline, that they have something to do with the release of Valorant and them, Riot kind of needing to split or bring on more new development teams to work on Riot or Valorant?
I'll say that when Valorant was coming out, League was non-existent. Like the updates weren't there. The fixes that were being requested weren't happening. This issue is kind of separate from it. They are really focusing on just dropping content. And that's across the board for all the games that they're trying to release. They just have too many hands and too many buckets right now. To be honest, I really love the esports. I don't know if that's a turn of phrase. I made that turn of phrase up.
Hands and I'm sorry.
many
Allison is commenting on my
too many
face.
buckets.
So I was like, hands and buckets?
Too many-
What's in
too
the
many-
buckets?
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many hands in the. I don't know. It made sense to me until it came out of my mouth and Dan made that face.
No,
Too many
no,
hands in the grease pot. That's all was
hands
happening.
hands
keeping
and
it.
buckets is a very horror movie image. I can see that. Just like a bucket
it's like
full of
buckets,
hands.
but full of hands. I get
Yeah.
it. I get it.
But it's something that I don't care about the esports of League anymore because the players that I like, they're not able to stay competitive because of all of these changes that make the game very imbalanced. So they're frustrated and they're kind of ditching the game in a lot of ways, and they're not playing. So you're getting these new players in who just play the best picks at the time, and everybody's rotating out so fast. I just don't care anymore. And that's really sad because I thought League was going to be the thing that changed esports and brought it to mainstream. And it did in a lot of ways. But now that it's fizzling out, it's like, will people even look at esports as something survivable? Or are they going to be like, it's always going to be the next hottest thing. Nothing's ever going to be a steady game to watch, to play. And it's really the way that League's being handled, not this itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there are other questions about the way that Tencent is handling things. I mean, recently, it got caught up in this whole like TikTok, the U.S. government worrying about how Tencent is handling United States citizens' data. Do you all think there's any like truth behind that? Or are you worried about that when you're playing those games at all? Or is that just sort of like, I mean, because the U.S. political system right now, obviously we're in an election year, so things are pretty busy, and sometimes people like need a thing to do. So is that real? Is that something we should be concerned about, or is that just kind of part of what you sign up for when you give your personal private data to a game?
I work in the data industry, and so I take a look at a lot of companies that buy and sell data and collect data for different reasons, usually for marketing purposes. And from what I can tell, it's kind of difficult to see exactly what they're doing with the data, other than just kind of using it for monitoring purposes. They say they don't release it to anyone unless it's ordered by law, which is kind of standard.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, if you sign up for something and you don't read the terms and conditions, and that's in the terms and conditions, it's like, that's why you read terms and conditions. If you don't want that being done, don't do it. For like the US government to kind of step in there and say that that's a reason to end that being used in this country is kind of ridiculous. I think it seems like a little bit of a political play, but I haven't dug all the way into it, so I don't want to be definitive on that, but that's just kind of what it appears.
The thing that's concerning to the US is not necessarily the short term, but it's what are they using this data for in the long run. I think that's what most of the concerns are about in terms of with TikTok and other Chinese-based assets that are mining this data like this. And it's not even that. I mean, U.S. companies do it too. It's everyone is keeping track of everything that you do. And so the concern is that with TikTok and these other apps, it's like, oh, China and these other countries now have access to 20 plus years of information that you've just been freely giving out on the internet. Now these people are going through college, and now they're joining the CIA, they're joining the FBI, they're joining all these intelligence agencies. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden, these foreign countries have all of this detail of your life. And so I think that's one of the main concerns from the political standpoint of why the U.S. is all of a sudden concerned about these things when they should have been concerned about this shit a long time ago.
It's definitely like the government is definitely behind the technology. But part of my thought is that it shouldn't be coming from President Trump. When it comes from President Trump, it sounds like a political thing versus something from like the FTC or the FCC.
They don't have any control over that though.
They have control over information though. They have control over the US data stuff.
And how that data is shared.
Correct. I guess I'm just saying like it just coming from President Trump, it just sounds like it's more of a political thing than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it is interesting to note that this is a big deal for Tencent Gaming, but we're not talking about Facebook. We're not talking about Twitter. We're not talking, and they do. It's the same. Like I don't know that Google. It's the same, but in my mind, it feels like. But
Allison, I want you to go. I'm just gonna interject because the Facebook thing is what I wanted to bring up because there's been a lot of lawsuits against them because of all of like the data sharing and like giving people's personal data to companies, but there's never been talk of banning Facebook.
For me, listening to everything and everything that's been broken down, my issue is that this came and wasn't about every product Tencent owned. Every product every Chinese company owns that has our data. That's not what this conversation was about. And I think that's where I was bothered with it and the intent and purpose behind it. If this was a sweeping thing of we need to decide what's happening with all of the companies, because the big issue allegedly is the Chinese government controls the companies in China. That is just how it is because it is China, and China, the government controls everything, right? So that's the big overlying idea of why this is problematic is they have our data, the government then has our data, and we don't want them to have it. If that was actually the problem, we wouldn't be focusing 2 applications. That's my issue.
Right. It would be all of this stuff.
It would be everything. It would be something we would be looking deeper into. And to Alex's point, it wouldn't be happening this second. It's very weird. It's happening this second right now, has to stop right now. But just these 2 apps.
It's maybe not weird.
Yeah. So that's where the problem comes for me. And secondly, like, just so everyone out there is aware, as a techie person I am, if there's no purchase of a product that's coming out of your wallet, you are the product. If you're concerned about stuff like this, you should be concerned about Facebook, to Dan's point. You should be concerned about all these other companies. The government isn't concerned because they're United States-owned companies, but who knows if those companies really have the best interest in mind of the citizens. That's another problem. But that's not what's being focused. It's all very weird, the conversations that are going on around Tencent, the banning of TikTok and, WeChat. WeChat,
yeah.
Those were the 2 that were decided. It's very weird to me, but those are just my points on it, I guess.
Allison, one of the other things that really jumped out to me when I was doing a little bit of research on this, and Tencent and all other Chinese gaming companies, they ban a lot of speech in their games. So Taiwan is banned. Like, you can't say Taiwan. Anything that threatens China's national unity, sovereignty, or territorial integrity, you can't talk about. Things that might harm the nation's reputation. You can't. There's also rules against obscenity and drug use and yada yada that feel a little bit more just homey. But are those things that are concerns to you when you're when you're playing League of Legends and you're playing a Chinese game? Like, are you worried about the fact that this company, as an entity of the Chinese government in some form or fashion, or as regulated by the Chinese government, is clamping down on free speech?
This kind of like hits back to when we talked about Devotion. Devotion was the game. Detention I played last year for Halloween, loved it, was so hyped about Devotion coming out, and then it was pulled because of the poster that made fun of the governor of China. So that game will never see the light of day. I think Harvard has it in their library now, and that's
Nice.
kind of like one of the few places it exists. You can't play it unless you live in Taiwan and purchased a hard copy. I have a lot of issues with the Chinese government's censorship of everything. I have a huge issue. But I feel like it's kind of separate to the Tencent League of Legends issue.
Okay.
Only because this company wasn't started as Tencent. It was Riot Games. I really enjoyed the Riot Game portion of it. I'm still supporting Riot Games in a lot of ways. Yes, Tencent owns them, but I don't think of it that way, I guess. But if I heard...
Riot is based in LA, right?
Yeah,
They're just
right.
owned by Tencent, which is...
Correct.
Okay.
So they were bought by them. So I feel like that's a little separate. If I heard that indefinitely they were censoring things Riot wanted to do, yes, I would now have a problem. But for the moment, that's not kind of related, I guess, to this for me.
Yeah, there really is like a dance there for me too, because on the one hand, you could say that like when you buy into, for me, Genshin Impact, or you're playing a Riot game, a game from a Chinese publisher that's Chinese owned, you're buying into this landscape where certain things are censored. They don't want to talk about Tiananmen Square. They don't want to talk about any of the unrest, the political unrest in Taiwan. On the other hand, you're also creating this bridge between a not very, but at least a somewhat more open country in terms of free speech, and a country that maybe doesn't. So we're building a bridge there, and there's always people who are going to find a way around it, right? And find a way to talk about that. And so to me, maybe like there's an opening there that we can exploit and to speak around that more.
In again, corporate Dan, putting on my tie, get a glass of whiskey and smoke cigarettes and madmen, just madmen. But the way that like corporate structure kind of is that if the entity which you own as a corporation, if the entity that you own is making money in the way that they're making it, and you own that company, but they're still making money, it's fine. You don't have to care about anything they're doing, because that asset that you own is building a profit. If that asset that you own stops building a profit, then you send people down to see why it's not building a profit, and then you have to start to adjust the things you're doing based on why it's not building a profit. So one could say that, like, yeah, there's not like the stuff with the protests in
last year, this year, going
yeah,
on.
still going on.
Continue.
But
Basically,
like, I
they're
know
really
that
cracking down
about Hong
on
Kong?
freedom of speech.
Hong
and,
Kong, that's what- yeah, Hong Kong.
Freedom of speech and any
right.
any kind of like
Right.
democratic system is really being expunged.
Yeah,
there.
and that's in the Hong Kong stuff, like because of esports, that's if it wasn't in the mainstream, they wouldn't have said anything because they wouldn't have known. Like if they don't know, then they wouldn't care. But as soon as it starts to affect their bottom line, that's whenever these companies happen, and it's also or whenever they put these like strictures and these things in. I know I'm being devil's advocate kind of right now, but it's like all of this stuff is basically so they can continue to make money. Everything is about money. Like,
yeah, so is your argument then just like don't give them any money?
I mean, that would be in a world where everything works in a perfect way. That would be the best way to take care of it. However, it's a corporation that owns other corporations that own other corporations that control things in your everyday life. So it's almost impossible to not give these companies money, especially in modern society right now. And since we're working from home and doing all these things from home,
well,
like it's like Jeff Bezos, like with Amazon, they have so many terrible practices for their employees. There's like no healthcare. There's like no oversight as to how these workers are treated, yet people still get stuff from Amazon all the time.
I guess if we're talking about Tencent specifically, though, like I could very easily not play Legends of Runeterra and not play. I guess that's really the only and not buy games on the Epic Store. You know what I mean? And then I wouldn't be sending them any of my money.
But those aren't the only things that they have stake in, though.
Sure, but that's most of it.
That's the highest percentage that they have in those companies. That's not all the money that they're getting.
No, I mean, I obviously, like, Discord, they get a chunk of that. Reddit, they get a chunk of that. Snapchat, they get a chunk of that.
I know you're
so you're right.
Yeah, you're smiling right now because you're like, oh shit, I go on Reddit all the goddamn time. And it's like, I go on Reddit all the time.
I don't, but Chris does.
I go on Reddit all the goddamn time. But it's like just you visiting that, like, we're not paying money to Discord right now, but like just us using it is increasing the amount of money that this company gets. And and again, it's like with corporate structure, the way that it's designed is that the money just starts to waterfall down after you start owning more and more things, which is why it's such a broken system.
And that's why Tencent has spread themselves out so much.
Exactly.
Like, Tencent doesn't just own video games companies. They make their own video games. They have their own division that creates their own video games. They're pretty much almost solely sold in China in their own marketplace. And they make mostly browser games and mobile games, easy games. Then they own big companies that make bigger games. They put little pieces of investments into all of these or buy the whole company. Then they've got money coming in from there. Then they got money coming in from Reddit. So that's definitely it. You can't avoid Tencent. That's the reality. They've spread themselves out so much that it would be considered a monopoly in the United States, but monopolies don't exist in China.
I don't know the definition of a monopoly, but I don't know if they would be considered one.
I don't think they would.
No?
No, because to be considered a monopoly, you would have to have sole control over every single aspect of whatever that is. So they don't necessarily control every single aspect. Like, there are still independent video game developers that can still do stuff and make money doing it. But
it's like Amazon. It's like
or Google
Google. It's like there are still other search engines. So
you don't want to use Bing?
That's where Google is.
DuckDuckGo, my friend.
You could just cut what I said about a monopoly. That can be something.
Ask
that doesn't make sense.
No. It's interesting because we view it as someone that is just like steamrolling, in a sense, and I think that's where like you coining the term like monopoly for Tencent comes into play. Is that we see this as a company that just comes in, takes whatever is in its path.
But you're right.
I think it's interesting to me from the business side of things, like not as like this concerned gamer, but as from a business side, everything that they do is really, really smart.
Yeah.
And they
it's business.
I'm not gonna lie, I may get stock in Tencent because it looks like a really good company to invest in.
It is like all of their investments are really good. Yeah. Like none of them are like things that are garbage.
And when you looked at the top 10 publicly traded companies, like I mentioned, like there are only 2 from China and the rest are the United States, which may also be part of the problem. This is one of the ones that isn't the United States on the top 10. So that's kind of viewed potentially as a problem to people, just because, U.S. make big money only. I guess.
Only U.S.
All right, well,
only U.S.
We're going to let Allison have the last word on that. If you have other big, scary gaming companies that you want to talk about, you can do so by hitting us up on our big, scary Discord. That's bit.ly/discobrew.
It's not scary at all. Everyone's very nice.
Except Allison, she's a little scary, but that's fine.
In particular, like Witchy Pip will just send you cute pictures. It's fine.
That's true. Oh my God, it's Witchy Pip season.
It is.
It's true.
This is the season of Witchy Pip. Everyone, enjoy that.
Yeah. Wow. So you can come and find her and many other treasures on bit.ly/discobrew. You can also find our podcast on all of our podcast platforms. That's Spotify. That's
however you found it today.
Google
iTunes,
Podcast, however you're listening to
Stitcher,
it.
Stitcher.
Stitcher, wherever. We're out
You
there.
can subscribe to Stitcher Premium. We don't get anything from it, but you can do it.
You can't. But if you go to
good.
bit.ly/
bit.ly/the GameBOO.
Yeah, you can go do Humble Bundle, which they don't give money to the Chinese government. They give money to people who need a little helping hand. So Humble Bundle is always a good choice.
Yes.
I feel like we should sign off by saying something spooky instead of good. Like, can we just do good night, everybody, in your spookiest voice? Say good night, everybody.
Good night. I want to suck your games.
Boo.
Yeah, they do some pretty cool stuff. Like they have this one, I think it's a cask of Palo Santo wood that like you can't get in America anymore because it's illegal to cut that tree down.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, here's part 2.
Don't worry, we already said I'm gonna go hard on the edit, so it don't matter none. We can talk as much as we want about whatever we want. And I'm gonna make this fucking thing my bitch.